Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Military Surplus Firearm Collecting. I'm Mike B, and today we're going to be doing a little episode in the sub-series about research. And today we're going to be doing a very important video. They're all important, but this one's going to be kind of laying the groundwork for how to do research and why, and a good way to start. Kind of laying down, like I said, the groundwork for this. And it kind of goes with the old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime or something like that. There's also a Ron Swanson version of that for those of you that know. I like that one better. But anyway, so when people just ask me to answer a question on a YouTube comment, it's basically like giving them a fish. It's like, okay, now you have your answer and you may or may not remember it because you didn't really have to work for it. You just asked me and you took my word for it. Also, I'm a person. I'm not, I can be wrong. And so can, other people in the field and experts, but generally speaking, it's better to spend your first $1,000 on this following kind of source. Books. Yes, I know, hard books, not Kindle books. I'm talking, you've got paper, you've got cardboard in front of you, and you can always have access to it, whether there's electricity or the internet or not. So, these two are just, there's a reason these are up here. I'm going to just start out with their very broad subject reference books, okay? So with this one, this starts out back in prehistoric times, damn near. Yeah, the first weapons right there. I can show a little bit of this. I'm not going to show the whole book. And then it goes all the way up to, 18th and 19th century stuff, all the way up until basically nowadays. So, and you got helmets a little bit too. Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen this part of the book. Interesting. Anyway, so you got really cool stuff like that. And it's a good reference book for just general overview of like kind of getting familiar with military weapons and stuff. And this is another one that's kind of the same. You've got, you open up to any page, you've got kind of, here's the US stuff, the XM177E2 and all that. And it'll kind of give you a brief thing. It's a very brief kind of overview of a bunch of different weapons. Now, these two, I would recommend both these books, by the way. They're not terrible at all, and they're really fun to read. They're really fun to look at. And if you want to be a jack of all trades, master of none, kind of like myself, this is the stuff that you should probably start out with. Now, if you are a little bit more into it or you know what you want to do, there are going to be books that go so in depth on a certain subject that you won't believe that it exists. And but you're going to have to pay for that material, unfortunately. But that's what I said. $1,000 may sound like a lot of money, but screwing yourself constantly, like I definitely did, and a lot of other beginner newbie collectors have in the past, is a little bit more rough to deal with on the ego than spending $1,000 on books that you can literally keep forever and are always going to be worth something. So I recommend books because, again, like I said, they're always there. The internet's fine, sure, you can use these in conjunction with the internet, but I would recommend, and I'm sure other collectors and people who are more of an authority on these kind of subjects would agree with me, that books are your number one source that you should go to. Now, the reason I have these out here is because, yeah, it's a good place to start. Now, here's what usually happens to people, okay? They start out and they go, oh, well, I saw Saving Private Ryan, so I'm gonna start out. I want an MG34 or an MG42 or a K98, anything German, because that's the really popular route to go, I guess, and that's where a lot of new people start is World War II German. That's what I want. Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers, and World War II, SS, all this cool stuff, And well, that's fine and dandy and everything. And I just wanted a K98 back in the day, but people were like, oh, I want an MG42, G43, you name it, because it's super popular. To quote Bill Burr, it's basically like saying you're an AC/DC fan, but listening to You Shook Me All Night Long on repeat and saying that that's the best it gets. And while, it's a great tune, like Bill Burr said, there's a lot of other things when you actually go down and get more specialized in that band or in the subject of a certain genre of firearms, you'll find that there's a lot more things that you actually enjoy more than what everybody else does just because it's popular. Now, I'm not trying to sound like a hipster, because hipsters can go screw themselves. I'm not a fan of hipsters. I'm just saying that in the long run, if you actually stick with the hobby, you're going to find that maybe your interest deviates from the norm, the quote-unquote norm of, World War II German stuff, and you're going to need to find research materials on that. So, an example was, I went down to the World War II German rabbit hole, of course, got myself a K98, but my first Mauser was a VZ24, because it was close enough, and I'm definitely glad I made that decision. Now, got the K98, and I was like, you know what? Mausers in general are just really, like, they work for me. I like them. So I ended up doing a little bit of research online and was recommended through just type in Google. I mean, best Mauser research book or material or whatever like that. And what you're probably going to come up with is Mauser Military Rifles of the World by John Ball. And he is like one of the world's leading authorities on Mauser rifles from just about everywhere. There's like minimal mistakes. He does have a few editions out. I don't know what edition is currently here. I do have a copy of one of the editions. It's just during the move last year, my books are somewhere in a bin that I don't know where I put it. So I do have a couple out here that were in a separate bin, but there's a whole bin of my research material, and there's still some left where I used to live. But I can't find it, so I'm sorry I can't have it in front of you. But yeah, Google it, Mauser Military Rifles of the World. It'll come up, and that's probably my most highly recommended piece of like book research about Mauser rifles. Now, the reason I don't give advice on like what's the best book and all this stuff is because I don't know a lot. Like I have my specialty. Now, again, jack of all trades, master of none. That's why I got into Mauser rifles, and I didn't just get into, one specific, sniper rifles. Like I have a fellow collector that is in sniper rifles, marksman rifles, and all that stuff. That's his thing. That's very specific. Mausers are a lot more general and all that stuff, but that's fine. I like that stuff. But there are good books, and I would just recommend if you get on the topic of something, say you want to research all of the German scopes and rifles and serial numbers and all that stuff from the First World War through the Second World War, all the different models and that stuff of just their sniper rifles, right? Well, I don't know a good source for that because that's not my thing and I don't have those books. Now, again, Google is a really cool thing. We have that technology at our hands and people just don't seem to be able to use it or don't want to use it or whatever, or DuckDuckGo, whatever your search engine is, just type in World War One, a book on World War One and World War II German optics or something like that. Figure out, let's look at the reviews, look at all the good ones and the bad ones and see if that's just some dipshit having a bad day and not knowing how to use the internet or if it's actually a negative review saying, there's a lot of inaccuracies, which is an issue in some of these sources. But in conjunction with the internet, you can kind of vet, I had to buy a bunch of books and then find out that they've got a lot of things wrong in them. But hey, I still have them. Then I circle what's wrong and then I can make that note and all that stuff for the future if somebody wants to use my books and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, so there are some things that are incorrect, but hey, usually that gets corrected. That's why there's different editions of books and stuff like that. But yeah, this is the source that I would recommend you start out with. Now, the whole reason I said, the give a man a fish thing is because there's a reason I don't just, answer things willy-nilly all the time. A, I don't know everything. B, it's just, I'm on this crusade to teach people how to research and how to be self-sufficient and how to exhaust all of your own research and effort before you rely on somebody else's answer that could be correct or incorrect as a fact. Now, if you're going to get into this hobby just because you like to shoot and you like history and all that stuff, and you don't really care that you're going to be burned or whatever, you don't really care about it, you're just like, I just want the basic stuff. Maybe, researching isn't worth all the effort for you. But if you're actually serious about this and you want to learn and preserve the history of like all these firearms and stuff, and helmets like I do and everything, you're going to want to learn how to do research. And I'm going to keep this video, under or around 10 minutes again. That's why I'm breaking this up into a sub-series. And books are just a tool to do research, okay? All books are, just like scholarly articles and stuff like that, is a compilation that this author or authors have pulled from their primary sources and compiled into a source in itself. So it does a lot of the work for you, but you still have to do that. And I'll be talking about actually how to do research. It's exactly the same as historical research because it is. It's just a very specialized subject in history, military firearms, military surplus firearms. And so I'll get into that, but I just wanted to make this very clear that books are the number one tool that you can use and that I would recommend that you start off collecting and don't buy any guns until you've actually gotten your library figured out. Again, both these are pretty good general things. The Mauser Military Rifles of the World, I think that's about $80 for the hardcover, worth every penny if you want to get into that. It's also just cool to have. And yeah, so I'll keep this... All right, I'll try to wrap this video up, but there's so many things I want to talk about, but I'm just going to have to wait till the next video. So, all right, thank you for watching. If you got any questions, I'll try to answer them. I'm hoping this kind of cleared up a little bit about why I don't answer every question and why I try to get people to be self-sufficient and be able to, do their own research. But again, I didn't realize and take into account that a lot of people just don't know how to do research. They've never had to, they've never been taught. So that's why we're going to do it. So thank you for watching again. And if you want to support my work, support the channel, and help me get cool things to make historical videos about, I like tangible items. This is kind of why I like books, and I like being able to teach people with tangible items. So the best way to support the channel is Patreon. The link to that is in the description. It's $1 a month. $5 a month or more gets you to the Discord server, which is pretty fun. We got a lot of information that we exchange there. New items and collections and stuff like that. It's pretty fun. And it's a cool way for me to be more interactive. I'm on there quite a bit. Anyway, if you can't do that and you don't want to support the channel like that way, your viewership is supporting the channel. Money is cool, but I also just like making videos, and I like spreading out kind of content about stuff that I'm extremely passionate about. Again, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. I'm just a guy that's been collecting for about 20 years and made a lot of mistakes, but also done a lot of really cool things and learned a lot of really cool things, met a lot of cool people. So with that in mind, again, thank you for watching. It really does mean a lot to me. And we'll see you on the next episode of How to Do Research, or whatever I titled this little sub-series within the military surplus firearm collecting series. Whew. All right, we're done. Thanks, guys. See you on the next video.